Welcome to the Pelican Brief with your host, David Tatman.
Welcome to the Pelican Brief. I am your host, David Tatman. Thank you for tuning in. The Louisiana legislature continues to pass important insurance and tort reform measures to address Louisiana's insurance crisis. There is a team of people working along with Commissioner Tim Temple to address issues that make Louisiana an outlier in so many different ways. And so many legislators seem to understand that. They understand that reforms are necessary. They understand that costs are lower in other states, and they're trying to make Louisiana much more like the other states, including our neighboring states. So let's talk about some of the bills. We've been talking about this on our show, but let's talk about a couple of them. One, we'll start with HB 678 by Ferment. That's the Fair Claims Handling and Proof of Loss. This is probably the most important reform needed to improve property insurances in markets in the state of Louisiana. It's really about good faith claims handling. So people can call it tort reform. We can call it clarification of two laws that contradict each other. The penalties are still there. It just makes it much more clear about who does what and when, and what their obligations and responsibilities are. And it provides a real opportunity to reduce litigation, which, as we know in Louisiana, is a major issue. We also have House Bill 611 by Ferment, and this is the more than 3-year rule. Now, this is a challenging one because even though Louisiana is the only place on the planet, not in the country, but on the planet that has such a rule, a 3-year and 1-day rule, where insurance companies don't have any control over their book of business, this bill will slightly modify that rule. So it would grandfather everyone who is under the 3-year rule if for any policies written after August 1st, 2024. At this point, in the way the legislation reads, there would no longer be a 3-year rule. It would allow some increases in individual deductibles of up to 5%. And it would also allow insurers in the current language to non-renew up to 5% of their book of business in any parish or zip code per year. The plan would have to be submitted to the Department of Insurance. And this bill is kind of blowing along. By a vote of 72 to 32, passed the House floor, and its next stop will be the Senate Insurance Committee. There's a couple of other bills. House Bill 423 by Mellerine, Representative Mellerine out of Shreveport, to reform collateral source. Collateral source is that whole issue of the insurance company paying what was billed and not what was paid. Clearly, we want the insurance companies to pay what they owe, but they shouldn't pay more for that, and they shouldn't pay that what ends up being extra 40%, which is called collateral source. There's a number of bills that are moving through the process. The House passed it by a vote of 88 to 10. This is a civil law issue, so it won't be in the Senate Insurance Committee. It'll be in the Senate Judiciary A Committee, which is just like civil law on the other side. There are other bills, but we're going to kind of not list all of them. There is another bill that, again, Louisiana is an outlier on, direct action. There's only 3 states that we know that allow lawsuits directly against insurance companies. It's Louisiana, of course, Wisconsin, and Rhode Island. And the whole concept is that courts are more likely to award increased damages against the big out-of-state insurance company. This makes it a little more personal. And this bill also just blew out of the House 85 to 15. I have a little joke that says if you had a bill that said mom apple pie in the American way, it probably wouldn't pass with a vote of 85 to 15. So another bill, 613 by Ferment, is deregulating insurance rate filings, file and use. This is a great bill. The reality of it is if an insurer comes in and their rates are too high, no one's going to buy it. And the whole concept that everybody's insurance is going to go up is a little bizarre. but it's an argument that is being made by a group of people who make money off of this, and so they want to do anything anti-insurance that they can. A really great bill by a freshman legislator, Representative Emily Chenevert out of Baton Rouge, and then there's a Senate version by Senator Rick Edmonds, to disclose third-party litigation funding. This is when an out-of-state interest, or really it could be even an out-of-country interest, comes in and basically finances litigation. This clearly kicks up litigation. This bill does not say you can't do it. It allows for third-party litigation funding agreements. It simply says that you have to disclose it. Again, this bill came out 84-17 and will be another bill that's in the Senate Jude A program. Another great bill that's moving through the process is HB 120 by Representative Matthew Willard out of New Orleans, and it really beefs up our fortified home program. We know storms are going to be stronger. We know they're going to be more intense, and we know that they will have the potential to do more damage. This is about building back stronger. So this extends the fortified homes program. There's going to be a little bit of a fight over the money. But we're going to try to get some more funds in there and figure out a way to fund that without taking it out of the general fund. But for now, there are some dollars that are available that will help people when they replace their roofs and when they repair their houses to build it back in such a way that the roof doesn't come off or the windows don't blow. We know statistically that if the roof comes off of a home, that damages are 70% higher. That's 70% higher. So if we can keep the roof on, we can dramatically reduce the cost of claims and therefore the cost of insurance. So those are some of the big insurance bills that are going on. Keep an eye. A lot of this will happen this week. Keep an eye out for notices. Remember, you can always go to the state website to see all of those bills. I gave you some numbers. You can go in and search the bill by context and look for insurance, and you're going to get it. I did want to mention another issue that we've been talking a lot about on this show, and that is the Constitutional Convention. So, we talk about the legislators in regular sessions of general jurisdiction like the one we're in can file an unlimited number of pre-filed bills. But once they get to the pre-filing deadline, which was March 1st this year, they can file up to 5 bills of general jurisdiction until April the 2nd without getting into a complicated formula. It just worked out that way. One of the most significant bills of this session, I believe, is going to be a late file bill that deals with the Constitutional Convention. It's House Bill 800 by Representative Bo Boyer. Bo is from New Iberia, great legislator, serves as chairman of the House and Governmental Affairs Committee. House Bill 800 calls for a constitutional convention. Of course, the bill is a work in process, but let me tell you a little bit about what the language says now. Now, it may change, and it will likely change at least in some ways, but the bill in its current form says all representatives and senators will be delegates of the Constitutional Convention, along with 27 other delegates appointed by Governor Jeff Landry. The Speaker will serve as the presiding officer until one is selected, so there'll be a vote to determine who is the chair of the Constitutional Convention. I know everyone remembers that in 1972 through 74, it was Bubba Henry. It sets that the Constitutional Convention will be held in Baton Rouge, but does not say specifically where. The biggest issue is it's going to have to be somewhere outside of the Capitol, because when you take the senators and the representatives and put them in there for a joint session, you can't work in that environment. Those are chairs that are just set up, and you would need a much a larger operation. And there's some logistical issues with that because of voting machines and so on and so forth. But they will likely break up into smaller groups to discuss specific subject matter. This bill also directs the legislature to fund the convention. That was one of the big issues during the last convention in 72 that that went for over 2 years. It calls on the convention to submit a draft constitution to the governor by July the 15th, 2024. And then the vote on the new constitution would be held during the general election on November the 5th, 2024. This would be the same day as the federal races, the presidential election. And if the constitution that was produced from the body that this bill seeks to set up is voted on by the people, it would become effective at midnight on December the 31st of 2024. So this is a big deal. And again, I want to go back. I talked about this before. Louisiana's last constitutional convention, Edwin Edwards was the governor. Bubba Henry was the chair. He presided over that constitutional convention. It started in 1972 and ended in 1974. We're talking about doing this bill, a constitutional convention that would begin right now. It says it would begin on May the 20th, and then they would have to have a draft constitution to the governor by the 15th of July. So I can do the math. That is not 2 months. And so I can tell you some of the conversation is that the whole effort is to move some of the parts of the Constitution that are considered to be superfluous. And so, like, we have one of the largest constitutions in the country as states go. And to make the Constitution a more streamlined, more guideline, more like the U.S. Constitution, and to take a lot of those items that are now enshrined in the Constitution and take those and not get rid of them, but to bring them down and make them statutory. What does that mean? Well, every year when the legislature comes in, you can a statutory item, statutory law, amendments and revisions to law can be changed with the vote of the legislature. It doesn't have to go to the people. And you only need 53 votes in the House and 20 votes in the Senate and whatever you need to get it out of the committee, and you can change that law if the governor signs it. In a constitutional change, the legislature needs to pass a constitutional amendment by 2/3 vote, so 70 in the House and 29 in the Senate. And then it has to go before a vote of the people. Just one little note, constitutional amendments also have to be filed a little bit earlier so people can get a look at them. And so it definitely changes a lot of things, but you're going to hear the conversation that it's not going to change anything. And that is true until the legislature meets again. And so one of the things we're going to try to do in the next few days is to get a couple of people on here to talk to us a little bit about their view of our Constitution, their view of this constitutional convention idea, and to share some things with our audience that they may not know. So that's it for right now. That's our preview of week 4. We are blazing through the legislative session. We want you to stay tuned. We'll continue to let you know what's going on. You can check out our website. Our website is pelicanbriefpodcast.com. You can follow us on social media at Pelican Brief 225. You can view us on YouTube video if you're not watching us now, and that handle is at the Pelican Brief 225. Or you can email me, David at pelicanbriefpodcast.com. Please like, share, subscribe, make comments. Go to Apple, say if the show, do a review, give me 5 stars, give me 1 star. Just please engage us. We're building our audience and we're trying to branch out, and when people start listening, they stay listening. So please help if you can. We do not make money on this. This is a communications piece for our clients. We're going to do some other shows on mental health. which is a big issue that everyone is talking about in Louisiana. And we'll have some other, shows like we did the other day on insurance, but I'll try to get people a lot smarter than me to come talk to you. So that is our show for today. We thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being a faithful follower of the Pelican Brief. And until next time, I am David Tatman, and we are the Pelican Brief.
The Pelican Brief is an off-script production.